There is always one thing that makes us sports fans go crazy, and that is a miracle. Now, in sports, we have seen miracles all the time. For example, in the NBA, we have a miracle ending to a game, or something like that. My point is, we have had a lot of miracles that have happened before. However, you don't see them every day as they are extremely rare. And this one almost became one of the biggest miracles in recent NFL history. How is everybody doing today? It's Sports Huddle back with another video. Today, I'm going to talk about the Raiders and how they almost had a miracle in 2019. Let's not waste any time, and let's get straight into it. Now, the Las Vegas Raiders have been an interesting team, where they are normally always having a winning percentage at around 500. They did have one good record in 2016, but besides that, not much. But in the year 2019, the Raiders got off to a pretty good start. They started off the season having a 6-4 record. And let's just say, from what it was looking like, they were on track to make the playoffs. At least that's what it looked like. After beating the Cincinnati Bengals at home, stuff didn't really go as planned for the Raiders. Next week they played against the New York Jets, where they got blown out 34-3. It was an ugly performance, to say the least. Now the next week was against the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Chiefs did in fact beat the Raiders in week 2 earlier that season. Maybe the Raiders could get even with them and defeat them. Was that the case? No. It was another blowout. The Chiefs absolutely blew out the Raiders 40-9. After taking 2 tough losses in a row, where he scored 12 points combined, it was time for redemption. Next week, they played against the Tennessee Titans, who did end up finishing the season making the playoffs. So they were pretty good. But the Raiders needed to start winning ASAP if they wanted to make the playoffs. But yet again, the Raiders' defense failed them. They ended up losing to the Titans 42-21. In the past 3 weeks, the Raiders have given up 116 points combined. That is very poor. Luckily, the Raiders were playing the Jacksonville Jaguars, who weren't the greatest team. They were more of a mediocre type of team. So this should be an easy win, right? Right? Well, that's a bummer. Yet another loss for the Raiders as they lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars 20-16. Luckily, the defense wasn't as bad, but they still lost. Even though it was a close game, that didn't matter. The Raiders went from 6-4 to 6-8, losing 4 games in a row. It was time for redemption. They really had to pick up the pace if they wanted to make the playoffs, and the chances were less likely. The other teams that were battling to make the playoffs were the Tennessee Titans, Pittsburgh Steelers, Denver Broncos, New York Jets, and Buffalo Bills. So it wasn't going to be easy. Next week was against the Chargers, who weren't a great team. But the Raiders finally won a game as they defeated the Chargers 24-17. It was about time the Raiders won. But now they are 7-8. And next week, which was the last week of the season, was going to define if they make the playoffs or not. And just so you know, even if the Raiders would win this next game, there is still a chance it wouldn't matter. Here's what had to happen for them to make the playoffs. The Raiders would have to beat the Denver Broncos. The Baltimore Ravens had to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Indianapolis Colts had to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the Houston Texans had to beat the Tennessee Titans. It wasn't going to be easy to pull off whatsoever. According to oddsmakers, the Raiders had an 11% chance of pulling this off. So it's pretty close to impossible. Now, let's see if all that actually happened. Did the Raiders prove everyone wrong and have a miracle? Let's find out. Now, first off, the Raiders had to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Baltimore Ravens did in fact beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. They beat them 28-10. So far, so good. But then after that, it all went downhill. The Colts lost to the Jaguars 36-20 as they had a rough second half, not scoring at all. Then it was the Texans who had to beat the Titans, which wasn't the case at all. The Titans ended up blowing out the Texans 35-14. The Texans defense just wasn't good enough to beat the Titans. But worst of them all, the Oakland Raiders, unfortunately, lost to the Denver Broncos by 1 point, which meant that the Raiders just missed making the playoffs. Now, when it comes to their offensive and defensive line that whole season, it was mediocre and just not so good. The Raiders' offensive line was ranked 14th in the league, which isn't bad at all, but their defensive line, according to PFF, was the 5th worst in the league. Now, as a team, the Raiders were ranked 22nd in the league, which is mediocre. The Raiders almost had a miracle in their hands, but sadly, the tables didn't turn the way they wanted it to. That is going to be it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you're new to the channel, please make sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe. I'm on the road to 500 subscribers, and we're getting pretty close, so I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe. And I'll see you all next time. I'm out.